Hi, my name is Tia Quinn, and I'm an astrologer from Washington. I kind of move around Washington quite a bit. So right now I'm on Bainbridge Island, and I got into astrology pretty young. I've always been very interested in astrology. My first online account was astro.com when I was 12, and I immediately started getting into it. And some years ago, Maurice hosted a conference over in Hawaii, Maurice Brandes, and I met my teacher Kaypacha, and I spent the next few years from that moment traveling with him and learning astrology and doing a kind of informal apprenticeship. And then for the past few years, I've been, branching out and trying to learn how to be my own astrologer, like he always taught. So today, my talk is about engaging with transits. It's going to be about being in the moment and being present with the transits as they are aspecting and hitting different points in your natal chart. Some transits are going to be really brief and fleeting, like the sun coming over or the moon or Mercury, but others can last years, like Pluto. I will go through the luminaries and the planets and a couple of the asteroids and how we can make the most of engaging with each transit. Let's see, to my next slide. So timing is kind of everything. So this talk is to help you prepare to be ready when the time is right. The transits are like our solar system's kind of weather, weather report. So checking in with them kind of checks in the vibrations that we're also dealing with here on Earth. So by engaging with what is being called into focus by the planets as they're aspecting your natal chart, all you have to do is to be willing to expand your awareness to more of nature and get in there. If you're a practicing astrologer, you probably always, are already doing it all the time and, looking at the chart of the moment and checking in with yourself and checking in with your clients. If not, this is a really good way to start learning more astrology and get in touch with how, what it means personally to you. So by paying attention to transits in your natal chart, you can personalize your experience with astrology, get more in tune with nature and the greater cycles of time and where you fit in those cycles of time, and use the vibration of the moment to seize opportunities and gain the ability to recognize the different patterns in your life and, be able to reflect on them so that you can grow as a person and evolve. And by becoming more aware of these transits, you help yourself, but you can also eventually be helping your clients because you're able to recognize the different energy of those patterns. So the sun and the moon are luminaries. The sun moves day to day, so it takes a full year to go around the chart. Best way to engage with a solar transit is just to live your life, enjoy your day, like make the most of each day as it comes by. And, even non-astrologers know how to see, enjoy the sun. So, and then the moon is probably the easiest one to tap into. We see the moon in the sky as it, changes phases, and it's always shifting around. It represents our emotional body and our feelings and our moods. And the best way I've found to work with the moon as it changes signs, kind of feel into the energy of that sign, like what does Aries like doing best? You know, doing stuff, getting out there and acting, and like, you know, what would a Virgo like to do? You know, go out there and like fix something perhaps, or, you know, get in the earth, or like, and so as the moon moves through its cycle, you know, you can inch and check in to the mood of that sign, and, you know, really kind of start edging into what it feels like to be acting out those different energies. Let's see. Change it. Mercury is the planet of communication, learning, study, commerce. When you're going through a Mercury transit, it's like, you know, a light bulb turns on, you get all kinds of ideas, your mind is activated, and, you know, you want to learn, you want to go out there and study and examine life, and, you know, grow from that. So when engaging with the Mercury transit, you know, you can benefit from taking a class, going out there and studying, and, you know, reading a book. So like, and then, you know, we're really lucky in this day and age. You know, Mercury's super fond of gadgets, and we have lots of those. And, you know, Mercury is kind of the planet that rules what's going on in your neighborhood, and you don't even need to leave your couch really, unfortunately, but you can just pick up your cell phone or your computer, and if you have a question and a curiosity, it's really easy for you to get out there and find out. You know, you could just type something in Google and boom, new knowledge, new information. Let's see. Venus is our planet that rules our values, or, you know, what we really love, and, you know, our resources, our money, or talents, or capacities, and, you know, are seeking out connection and attracting connection with other people. And so when we go through a Venus transit, we attract, and we're attracted to what we value. We seek connection, and we want to be able to express our talents and our gifts, and, you know, share what we have. And we also want to be able to receive what others have. And, you know, whether it's a romantic connection or just a friendship, Venus likes getting out there and socializing. So engaging with the Venus transit, it's a good time to do some artwork, you know, get a painting in, or, you know, find ways to surround yourself with more beauty and create more beauty for the world, because you know, it helps you feel that we're in a place of love, and that other people are able to experience what you love. And so Venus transits are good times for going out also, and like meeting other people and getting in touch with other people, and beginning new relationships and friendships with other people that might share your values. Mars represents our drive, or, you know, we want to get out there and accomplish something, or, what our passions are, our desires are, and how we act. So when we go through a Mars transit, we're urged to charge ahead and act out those desires. And, you know, we want to use our physical body to do this. We want to like get out there and, you know, charge ahead. So Mars transits are good times for getting shit done. Also, you know, you can kind of make you feel a little aggro sometimes, or like you have a welling up of energy. So it's a really good time to, you know, get some exercise in, go on a hike, go on some kind of adventure that expends that energy in a positive way. And also do some stuff. Let's see. Go. Jupiter represents the expansion of our consciousness and our growth through acquiring knowledge from our experiences. And Jupiter really likes, can be the teacher in the chart or the guru in the chart, and has like lots of lessons about the natural world for us to but you have to like get out there hands-on, like not like Mercury sitting on the couch and looking at the cell phone to figure something out. It's best to go on, more of a Sagittarian quest and get out there and experience the world and experience nature, so that your mind can be expanded. So Jupiter adds more to whatever, it's going on, and it sets us off on a quest to seek higher knowledge. So Jupiter transit's a good time to get out and travel and expose yourself to different cultures, different ways of living. Even going out into the forest, you can learn a great deal about the natural world, natural law, and your part in it, and how your culture compares to this. So it's more about like actually going out beyond like what you know a bit. Saturn represents our commitment through time to a dedication to a path. It sets the boundary, like what am I fully capable of? What do I really want to commit to doing in this lifetime? Like what's super important to me? And how do I want to create a reality where that's possible? And so Saturn transits are about forming our reality. They help us set our goals and get real about what we need to do to manifest them. There's kind of a heaviness to Saturn transits at times. It can be kind of like a little depressing, to be honest. There are times where you're called to be more responsible than you've ever been, and times to be dutiful. It's kind of the party pooper planet. It like sets the limits of all that Jupiter expansion. So at times it might be a little difficult. So when Saturn transits, there are times to focus on what your goals are and like set about making them happen, and actually work at it, like go out there and commit fully to what you're doing and not half-ass anything. Like Saturn hates it when you half-ass things, and your goals will actualize themselves a lot better if you're actually physically out there using that Mars energy and all of the things that you've learned thus far to make it happen. Uranus represents our awakening to unknown and unfamiliar, and going beyond those Saturn-imposed limitations or self-imposed limitations, and kind of come about in a way that like shock ourselves into like these awesome breakthroughs or like new inventions, or something new needs to be created for the future and it hasn't been done before. So you kind of set out to be that person that is innovative and ready to make that big breakthrough. So when we go through a Uranus transit, situations arise that bring us out of stagnation and into something new, exciting. Uranus transits can be some jarring moments in our lives. It can feel a little unstable and shaky, and you might feel unsure of yourself if you've never tried something before, or going into the unknown is kind of scary, but Uranus helps you get out of any self-imposed ruts and awaken to that future and that freedom that wants to be explored and experienced. So yeah, anything that you can do to shift your routine and shake it up a little bit, like do something new and exciting that makes you feel good. Like maybe, um, yeah, if you haven't, like, I don't know, explore a new subject, or start checking out astrology, or do something totally weird and wild and unique to you that gets you out of your comfort zone. Because Uranus certainly does have a way of doing that when he comes around. Neptune represents, dreams and spirit and, our unconscious. And so it's not a very tangible energy. It also moves quite slowly. So it's kind of like, over time, like, it's kind of like a little disorienting kind of vibe, but it can also be really like healthy times to meditate, to tap in to, what spirit is asking you to do, where spirit is calling you to go. It's it's the dream world. It's everything that's beyond our physical realm of experience. So, it's really important to work on your spirituality and your spirit, and to meditate, and, kind of wonder what's beyond all of this. And, you know, a Neptune transit, I feel, is like best spent in meditation, best spent like using your imagination to help aid like Saturn in creating the reality you want. So like techniques like creative visualization are helpful, and doing some dream work or dream journaling can be helpful with tapping into a Neptune transit. Pluto represents our deepest desires, what lies at the core of our multidimensional self and our soul. And ultimately, like how through long periods of time and many lifetimes, we evolve and return to source. So there can be pretty powerful times when you have a Pluto transit, but it's also very, very slow moving. So, you don't just become a new person overnight. It's, through all these collected experiences through your lifetime that you evolve and grow and metamorphosize and become that butterfly that the caterpillar once was. So Pluto transits are really good times to get introspective and examine like what's going on, like with like way beyond, your conscious, like what's at the root of all of your desires, like what really motivates you, where is your like core power. And so, a good thing to do during Pluto transits is like start your Kundalini practice, attend a transformative event or workshop. I like going to festivals, get to see everyone doing their creative thing, and you end up, like ready and like feeling like that you could like take the next step to evolve. You go deeper with it, whatever it is that you desire to bring into creation. The south node of the moon represents a part of our past knowing and an area that's well explored. Some cases it's like, whatever profession that you've been doing for a long time in your previous lifetimes, or like whatever is like super familiar. You got it down. It's like your ingrained talents that you were born with, pretty much. And the north node of the moon represents like the road less traveled, like where you haven't explored and where you intend to head towards in the future. I want to do more of this. I haven't ever done it before, but I'm going for it, hopefully, and I'm going to do it. So transits with the nodes, you know, they call you from this place that's like really comfortable, kind of like the moon, like you know it so well. Why change? And it calls you into this new space where you're ready to integrate and learn something new and kind of let go of the familiar. So like the south node transits are a reminder that you have it down. You don't need to dig deep into that area anymore, and you should use that time to kind of reflect and say like, okay, like I got this about this particular planet or whatever, and I'm ready to release this and move forward or integrate it in a way that it's helpful for me in the future as I'm exploring this like north node. So the north node is going to require you to, you know, go on a new path, like check out some new things. And I'd suggest teaming up with Uranus on the adventure to the unknown and like dive into the new, do something, learn something, get out there and experience new. And you'll look at, you know, what signs they're in, of course, and be able to kind of vibe with where it's calling you. I know the nodes, I think, just changed the other day into Cancer, Capricorn, so that'll definitely bring some changes. Chiron, you know, is known as the wounded healer, and it's just like this, you know, kind of like part of yourself. Like if you had like, you know, a big thorn in your foot, or you know, you feel like you're just not good enough in this way, or you know, there's some kind of like hurt inside, you know, whether it's learned or you felt like you were born with it, you don't belong. And, you know, Chiron went around searching, you know, in the myth of Chiron, he searched the world to aid the wound that healed him. And he learned so many different things in his search. So Chiron is going to help you become aware when you have a Chiron transit, like, where does it hurt? Like, how am I wounded in this area? And how can I go about healing it through going out there and studying remedies and going out there and finding ways to make that whole again. And so Chiron transits are really good times to go take a retreat and do something really nice for your body or your soul or your spirit or whatever, and like really take a deep look at like how you can go about healing that part. I missed this. I didn't finish that slide, so I'll just skip it because I don't know what happened. So planetary returns are some of the most important transits. You know, so it's when a planet returns to the same place it was when you were born. So we don't really experience Neptune, Pluto transit, you know, the return of those because they have such long cycles, with their orbits being 150, you know, 250 years. So we might experience like a square from Pluto, but we're not going to really, you know, those speak to more of a journey across lifetimes. So the moon is easy, you know, it happens every month. Women are really in tune with this cycle because, you know, we menstruate. And so we're kind of used to checking in with the moon, and it kind of, you know, just like it rules the ocean, it kind of is like really in tune with, you know, what's us. A really good way, you know, the moon, you know, like every time the moon goes around, you know, you can have a full cycle. I garden a lot, and so it's like you take a seed on the new moon and then you like bring it around the full cycle, and then, you know, by the end, you know, not always with the plants, but you know, you go from seed to harvesting. So the gardening and the moon kind of go hand in hand. The sun is, of course, your solar return, you know, your birthday, and so it's a good time to celebrate and like reflect on the previous cycle and the year and all that you've experienced, and what you're ready for the next year. You know, Mercury, check in with your thinking, your thought processes, like how are you still learning? Because, you know, this lifetime, you know, you could say, oh, I went to school or whatever, but it's about constantly going out there and absorbing new information and getting new ideas and, you know, exercising your thought processes. Venus, you know, of course, checking in with your values, like, you know, where are you at with that? Are you attracting what you want in your life? You know, are you doing what you love? Are you with the people that you love? Do you love yourself? Mars, like, what actions are you taking out there in the world? How are you acting out your desires? Like, what do you want to do with yourself in this next cycle? Like, it's a good time to check in with that. Oh dear, my battery is running low. I need to plug the computer in. Jupiter returns have been super interesting for me. I've always had I've had huge moves during Jupiter returns where I like moved to somewhere completely new and it like blows my mind. Like, I'm just like, wow, like this is a completely different way of living. And I don't know if everyone's experience with Jupiter returns are like this, but for me, it's always been something that really like shifts me to a new place. And, you know, maybe like I start traveling again or whatever, but it's always been really exciting. I like moved back to Seattle when I was like 17 or 18 from Hawaii, and like, whoa, living in the city, you know, and then like 12 years later, I'm moving like out to the country in Port Townsend, and I'm in the middle of nowhere, and I'm just like, what? Like, what am I doing out here? So Jupiter returns are cool. Saturn return is probably the most discussed and, you know, major of the returns. And it's a time when you are like finally ready to mature and grow up and like step into your power to create your own reality. And it's always a super important time. I had my Saturn return a couple years ago. It was really quite difficult. I made it through. Pretty happy about that. But yeah, you see people, you know, they either, you know, they're starting out in their career, they've acquired a lot of knowledge and they're ready to go, you know, like they just commit to having a family. You're like ready to commit to whatever it is in your life that you're super passionate about. Linda, if you could just pause for a minute, my charger is in the other room and my computer is on like 5% or something. I really need to plug it in. Sorry, I had to get my computer thing. Let's see. So Chiron returns every 51 years, and you know, it's at this point that, you know, hopefully you've spent all of those years, you know, growing and learning and, you know, really looking into like, you know, your hurt feelings or where you felt wounded, and you're ready to become that healer and, you know, let go or actually, you know, patch up that wound and step in to your power more and more. The Uranus return is, you know, towards the end of our human lifetimes, and it's the point where we're, you know, letting go and of more of what has been really real to us in the physical, like, you know, material possessions or things of that nature, and we're ready to awaken to, you know, the more spiritual realms, and, you know, ready to get back to source and start the cycle again. So not quite there yet. Still have a bit of time. Let's see. Go to the next slide. Where won't it go? Okay. So another thing to look at when you're engaging with transits is like planets changing houses. You know, when a planet shifts houses, it kind of will tell you like this is where the action's going to go down, you know, for the next little bit of time as it moves through that house. So it's like if it's going through your fourth house, like, you know, what's going on in your inner world or at home, you know, it's going through your seventh house, like what from the outside are you attracting in? So it kind of shows you like in what context that the planet will be presenting itself. So that's, you know, it'll spotlight it and give you clues of how to best invoke the energy of that planet. I've also noticed like when planets change house, like, yeah, like another, like big shifts. Like I've had a lot of like breakups or change of jobs or, you know, things like that, like kind of happen as soon as they shift houses. So that's always been really interesting to pay attention to for me. The other thing, of course, you're going to look at aspects and, you know, what aspects are these planets making to each other and to your natal chart. With the conjunction, it marks the end of a full cycle and, you know, the beginning of a new one between those. So what new beginnings do you want to put forth in your life? Like, what are you ready to start? Sextiles will bring in some new learning experiences for you, like to integrate. So you've started out on your journey and you're ready to start, you know, kind of the quest that conjunction set off. Like that new beginning has begun full swing, and you're getting some new learning experiences presented to yourself. Squares are kind of like event generators. They like give enough tension and like to create action. So it's like you're, you know, it's like, wow, I got to do something now. You know, there's this other side of it that's like calling me and to creating and getting out there and taking action. Trines are, you know, presenting opportunities to flow and to cooperate and to, you know, I don't know, they're pretty chill. Like it's like probably the most chill aspect that you could have going on. Oppositions show us that, you know, we live in a dualistic nature, and you know there's an opposite to everything. So you can either look at it as kind of a challenge to you, or it can be an opportunity to kind of see that indeed the grass is green on the other side also, and you know you can find ways to complement that opposing energy. You know, also these planets might be in retrograde. Retrograde, which will add kind of a flavor to your interpretation as you're looking at these transits to your chart. Retrograde periods are always a time of reflecting and going inward, and not so much of like, you know, getting out there and doing it, but you know, taking that time to meditate and really come up with your course of action once the planet goes direct. The retrogrades to outer planets are a lot less noticeable to the inner planets because they retrograde about half the time. So we do have, we're just finishing up a Venus retrograde. So right now is a really excellent time to kind of tap into that energy and how it's felt for you, and kind of, you know, at least you know, start journaling for the future. Like, how did that feel for me? What do I want to do moving forward? And Mercury's about to go retrograde as well, which is probably the most discussed retrograde cycle. It happens a few times a year. And so, you know, that's another opportunity that's upcoming that you can really tap into how that planet, you know, and wherever it is in your chart and whatever planets it's aspecting affects you, and how that retrograde feels. So when engaging with transits, the most important thing to do is to pay attention and be in nature. There are plenty of ways to pay attention. We have all these fun, handy apps and programs that you can just generate a chart at any moment and be able to see where the planets are. But of course, it doesn't really need to be technical to pay attention. You could just go out under the night sky and, you know, do some sky gazing, like where are the planets now? I just got to see Venus for the first time. I've been kind of jealous of Gemini Brett because he has all these photos of Venus in the morning, and it's cloudy here in Washington, and all this fog and clouds have been kind of obscuring my view of her. And finally today she peeked out just before sunrise over the trees. And you know, you can, you know, do some moon gazing. There are like many ways to pay attention and start engaging with the greater cycles of time in your life. And then keeping a journal is another thing I'd recommend. It can just be your regular journal that you jot down, you know, your daily life in, but write any major transits that you're having at the top of the journal page. You know, so in the future, if you're curious about how that transit felt, you can look back to that time and say, oh, hey, this is what I was going through that very day, and these are the transits, and you'll be able to fully engage more in the future. In conclusion, I hope this has helped you to come up with some ways to engage with transits, and I hope that, you know, everyone starts checking in more with their birth chart and the planet's weather report and learn how to seize the day. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Tia. Would you like to take some questions from the audience?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Does anyone have a question? Or a comment they'd like to make? Oh, never mind. I just wanted to say that your slides are just so beautiful.
Well, thank you.
You're so talented. It's wonderful. Okay, final chance for questions and comments. Okay, Tia. Well, thank you so much from all of us, and we're looking forward to catching you next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Aloha.
you, Tia. Great. Would you all please thank Tia Quin, everyone?
Thank you.
Thank you, Tia.
Thank you.
Tia. Aloha. Have a good one.